Okay, here we go. It's going to be a little difficult simply because I have a little bit of a problem with my voice today. And okay, so I am trying something new. Excuse me for that. I have no voice. And I'm trying to get my voice back. So if you give me just a minute, I'll be right with you. Oh boy, this really sucks. I thought that if I drank some hot tea, that my voice would come back, and my voice is sucking today. Either way, here we go. Um, I'm going to talk about cancellation of soul contracts. So most soul contracts are viewed by people as, you have a relationship with somebody and you don't like them, but you have a baby with them, something like that. Or, you know, a twin flame, somebody who you have a relationship and it's really hot and it's really powerful, and then you break up, and the breakup is absolutely terrible. And so people say, well, that was a soul contract. We must have owed something to them, and therefore it had to happen. Uh, that's one type of soul contract. There's another soul contract that you do to yourself, by yourself, with yourself. Those typically are based out of fear. I will never love a woman again because I got hurt. So I'm going to um, hate all women. Um, I will never trust another person again because somebody did me wrong. That's a soul contract that you do with yourself. And then there's the most simple one that you make a promise to somebody and you say, hey, I promise you I will be loyal to you. I promise you that I will fulfill this thing to you, with you. I promise my friendship. I promise whatever it is. You promise. See, this is where the soul contract comes in because you promise love to somebody and you don't fulfill that love promise. And so um, that's another soul contract. So what I'm going to do is I wanna break this down in different pieces. And then there's another piece of this title, which is um, what happens, why you can't manifest things in your life. You do, oh, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, I'm doing it right, but I don't see why I cannot manifest what I want. There's a lot of people in that call themselves awakened, right? And they call themselves awakened souls. They call themselves woke, um, whatever the term they want to talk about being enlightened, when in fact they're not. They're just, how do you know? You like, well, that's a real judgment. Well, why don't you stick around and let's talk about that. And we'll see if I'm judging. A really enlightened and awakened person is somebody who has really done their job and they are detached from outcomes. They are detached from uh, chasing. So it's okay to have desires. What is not okay is um, to be attached to these outcomes and excuse the language, bitch and complain because life doesn't work out the way you want it to, you're not spiritual, you're not awakened. You're just throwing a fit. So I want to talk about that as well. So now, why am I doing this today? Because I promised I was going to do it. And I made a commitment. I made a commitment to myself. And today is a very important night to finish it. I don't have the voice to do it yet, right? But I said I was going to do it. That's number one. Number two, I've been sick for the last 4 days. And um, I also had an incredible, wonderful day. And I was going to do it a lot earlier, but I couldn't. I just didn't want to break away from being with my grandson. And, and being with him was more important than anything else in the world. And with that being said, it was necessary that I did what I did. And it's also necessary that I fulfilled this because this is exactly why your soul contracts do um, continue to show up in a negative way. This is why your manifestation cannot be evidence in your life. It's because you make soul contracts with yourself and you don't fulfill them and you think it's okay. And so, to whatever that's worth right now, that's where I'm going to go with this and let it happen. So I'm going to cover that first. Then I'm going to give you some background how I got here, and then later on, I'm going to try to put it all together from a Hebraic biblical position, and um, this is mounting to something that's very lengthy. I don't even know if my throat can handle all that talk. Okay, um, so that's why I want to get to the nut of it, and if I can't go any further. So let me give you a quick background. I have put in approximately this week 5, 6 hours in preparing for this day. Um, I have had maybe 2 sleepless nights. No more than two of those nights was no more than 3 hours meditating about this, and and so I made a soul contract with myself many years ago that I needed to break it. And let me quote you this: the physical condition. This is one that you want to take a note. The physical conditions that I am experiencing today and right now are a direct reflection to the spiritual issues that I had created. The physical conditions that I'm experiencing right now are a direct reflection of the spiritual environment that I created in the past. And so that's why it's necessary for me to talk about it today with a very raspy voice. Um, so a soul contract um, is not necessarily uh, you having a child with somebody, getting a divorce, and falling in love with your child and say, you know, that had to be a soul contract because I love my kid. That's not a soul contract. That's just an excuse for being stupid and having a relationship with somebody and then trying to justify it because you cannot comprehend that um, the trust that a child gives you is what causes you to be so incredibly in love with that child. That's the reality. See, it is the children that pick the parents, not the other way around. You did not pick that child. Now you picked to engage into sexual action that brought that child into their life, but you are not the one who chose. It was that soul that was hovering over you at the moment of conception. And that soul is the one that showed up by its own choice because it had a mission. So you chose your parents at whatever cost your parents have, you feel is wrong or right with them. You chose your parents. And you're like, well, where do you get all this authority? Stick around. I don't have a whole lot of time to get into all those details. You can ask me those questions later and I'll share it with you. Just put it in the chat or whatever. Okay. Um, Now, what else? What else is a soul contract? Let's talk about the contract itself. A contract is an agreement in between two parties or more in which an offering is made to contract. That offering is made to contract by one of the parties, and the other party reviews the offer and it has an acceptance. Once that acceptance is um, received, the party should have approximately by law 3 to 7 days, depending on what we're talking about here, to return with a rebuttal. Contract delivered, contract accepted, rebuttal. Then would come negotiation on the fourth one. And once the negotiation, the contract's not settled until both parties sign and agree and say, this is the contract. Now it is a standing contract all the way up to that point. If you have only one party that signs the contract, you don't have a contract. So if you signed your name on a lease and the leaser, um, or you signed your name on a credit card, but the other party did not sign it, you don't have a contract. You don't have you don't have a genuine typical contract. You might have be, you know, something that looks like law, and you still have to deal with all the consequences of that. That's not the object of this discussion. So, on the standards of that, the Constitution allows for unlimited amount of contracts in between parties. The Constitution does not address the canceling of contracts. It only says that contracts can be had by anybody. We have freedom to contract with one another, and nobody can stop you from doing that. And I want to address it from that position because in the spirit realm, a contract is something that has to happen before we arrive at this manifested environment, this dimension, whether you want to call it one, two, three, four, fifth dimension, sixth dimension. I don't care what you want to call it. So a contract has to be done before. All right. By two parties or more. So now we have a contract in the most basic form. Now comes the next, the fulfillment of the contract or a breach to the contract, meaning the contract is void because one of the parties failed to follow the agreements within the contract. All right. So this is addressing this law of reciprocity in which you say you love somebody and you fall in love with them and they say the same thing to you and so you both talking about being in love and then one of the two in that relationship decides to take the other one to court and say lies and attack and all this other craziness. Well, you know what? It wasn't love. It was something else. And so we get all caught up in old soul contracts and I owe them, my love for a moment and then they mistreat it, whatever. It's not. It's just stupidity. So Let's put it where it's at. All right. So every time that you say, I am going to go here, I promise I'm going to try to arrive. I'm inviting you to a party, and then you say, I'm going to try. Or you say, I'm going to be there, and then you don't show up. You ask for help, and I say to you, I'm going to be there to help you out, but I don't show up. Or I show up and I do a terrible job at helping because it isn't help if it doesn't help. So now what happens is if I say to you anything and to myself, I'll be there tomorrow, but I don't call you, I don't show up, I break my word. The energy of my spirit already had been set forth to arrive at that moment and at that date. And so, because that happened, and I didn't show up, I created 1 second because I didn't show up on time, right? As I said I would. Then you know what? I created a vacuum. I'm having some kind of problem over here with my technology, and I don't know what's going on. Okay, let me see if I can get there. I'm supposed to be going live on YouTube, but it didn't work. I don't know why. It looks like I'm live. Oh, there we are. Okay. Oh man, I'm having all kinds of technological problems. Oh, it's recording. Oh man. Okay. I apologize for the mess. Either way, we're gonna continue to rock and roll here. If I don't show up, I've already sent my energy, and because I spoke it, it's in existence. But the powers of chaos are now feeding off of that contract that I didn't fulfill. And because of that, every year at the same time, that opening for that contract is renewed, or if I don't cancel it, then it continues to be fed to the powers of chaos, whether that you want to call it darkness or whatever. Okay. Promises that you make and commitments that you make, every single one of them is a contract with your own soul, and you start depleting your own energy. So that's crazy, but I have a super crazy delay on my YouTube. All right, I'm back here. I'm back here. Forget YouTube. I'm just making it more complex than it should be, I guess. I was trying to be technologically cool. You know what I mean? It didn't work. So If there's anybody watching this that knows how to fix that problem, let me know. Back to the soul contract. The soul contract. It I've been introducing this just for 20 minutes now. Um, if you move forward with this ideology that everything that comes out of your mouth is a contract that you are creating, and that you're feeding the powers of darkness when you don't take care of your own word, then you are sending out energy that can be used by the powers of chaos. So more chaos comes into your life. But then the universe that listens, that field of potentiality, from where all good things come, cannot give you what you say you want, no matter how many times you do it, because you have not canceled those other contracts that remain, that becomes a claim against your energy. And so your energy of manifestation is depleted, in your account for manifestation is at a negative because you have not closed those contracts. So you're like, damn, then that means I'm screwed because I can't remember every contract that I have failed myself and that I have said, you're right, you could be screwed. But what you can do is you can find the moments that are showing up in these cycles of life. And according to the Jewish tradition, um, there are a couple points in life. One is Rosh Hashanah, once a year, and another one is this week that just passed by, this particular season called Matot and Masei. And because the Bible addresses that, and every year those are portals that are open to cancel a contract. And again, I told you I had about 6 hours of research on this for this week alone, but I've also done this for another 10 years, the same thing. And I'm seeing different manifestations in my life, and fulfillment. So I know it works. And so, you know, if you want to, put a label on my belief and whatever, we can talk about that too. But that's not the subject. That's not, I just wanted to tell you, for if you are out there and you want to become an alchemist, and you claim that you're an alchemist and you want to manifest and you say you're a manifester, a lot of women love to say that they're manifestors. There's a big difference in between being a manager of life and another. Some people, don't get me wrong, some people have the uncanny ability to manifest things. I work with some clients of mine as a life coach that are definitely manifestors. But I'm talking about soul contract because those same manifestors still have problems in relationships and in other area, not understanding that what cancels your manifestation and what causes you to be in a negative cycle with somebody, with a type of relationship, with a type of business, with a, so these people that they say, I don't know why I've worked so hard all my life, I've been doing the same thing and I can't seem to go forward. That's a soul contract, my friend. That's a soul contract that you created because of the stupid things that you allowed to come out of your mouth. So this week that just passed, um, was a window of 7 days that you could have canceled the contract, but you didn't may not known about, the Hebrew language and its power to address these portals of opportunities that show up. Well, if you want to stick to it, there's another one coming, and that is the time of Yom Kippur, in Rosh Hashanah, I mean, yeah, which means the head of the year. And this is a time when you can. There's a specific way of doing it. You gotta write it down and do all these steps. And so, not the subject of the discussion right from today. If you are in conflict within yourself. Every time you approach something new, you do self sabotage, right? The imposter syndrome. These are indications that you have sold contracts in your life that you are not addressing appropriately. So you are doing this auto sabotage that keeps you from being able to be in the fullness of your happiness, in the fullness of freedom, right? That's what the soul contract, a negative soul contract. So what is a positive soul contract? Positive soul contract is the one that you write down, that you commit to memory, and that you pursue it. Okay. So think about, you know, these people that create businesses and everything else. They have a positive soul contract and they know how to fulfill that. And those same people have, messed up lives, relationships, because they have negative soul contracts in other areas that they don't know how to set themselves free from it. So then they use their money, they use their position, they use their capacities, their authorities to continue to do ugly things to other people. Yeah, but I got money, I don't care. That means that that money is negative to you just because you have it and you know how to use it and empower it. Um, it's a temporary, it's not sustainable. And the hour for payment and the bill comes due for everybody. So soul contracting is really big. Okay. It can change your life completely if you understand how to prepare for those moments. And the easiest way is not to open up your mouth and make a commitment that you're going to do something to somebody, with somebody, for somebody, and even if for yourself, and then not fulfill it. Every one of you that breaks a diet, every one of you that joins an exercise routine, you are creating chaos in your life every time you don't fulfill it. This is not a guilt trip. This is you. I want you to know that it is so powerful that you begin to have a lack of self-integrity in your mind and in your heart. And so you don't believe yourself. You begin to believe your own lies. The universe will not back up something like that, even if it's temporary, yeah, of your backup. All right. So manifesting, there are moments in time in the cycles of life that these opportunities and these portals for manifesting what you want show up. For this one, you got to show up to be manifesting by closing all those contacts. So you can make a list of the things that you know that you made a commitment, but you haven't fulfilled them. And you can cancel them during the time of this period. Unfortunately for you, I'm talking about it after the 7 weeks is over. And I explained to you earlier why I came to that point. It's because I had other priorities, but I also needed to do it before midnight and before the whole day. There's still a little bit of a window because there's a leftover energy up until the sun rises. We can say it that way for now. Um, I am tired in speaking, pushing my voice is very laborious. So I'm gonna stop here. Maybe I'll pick up on, you know, all the details behind what it is. Where do we find it in the scripture that it talks about um, the soul contract? We can talk about um, the actual cancellation of it. What's the process, which is really not that hard, right? It's the same as writing a contract, and it's going to have these particular positions within the document. Well, then what do you do with it? You burn it, you put it underwater. What do you do? Um, I want to give you something very practical. If you find yourself with these self-sabotage conditions, what I have recommend is that you write down what it is that you're dealing with that's a self-sabotage. And then you write the opposite. You're saying that this is who I am and who I want to be. And you write that for 30 days, the positive in the current state, um, rather than I will be or I won't do this anymore. But you got to write it in the positive actual state of I am this, I am that. And you do that for 30 days and you start to change the self-integrity and you'll be able to make a change. But you have to stick with it. Not only that, but out of market so that you can see that every year you want to come back to the same thing. Um, that's one thing. The other thing is try to recognize that you created these things. And you can ask the universe, you can ask your own soul, yourself, to show you which are these things that are showing up for you. And when that shows up, immediately make a change and say, I cancel that contract. It's as simple as that. So I'm going to leave it right there because I'm getting dizzy, I'm tired, and my eyes are bugging out. I hope this was of any benefit to somebody. One of the books that I use, it is called The Humash, and it's written in English and in Hebrew. Um, One of the sources is Javier Wolkoff, which is a very awesome Kabbalist. He's been a teacher for a long time. Uh, I think 2012 is when he started. Does um, and my parents that taught me about Kabbalah when I was a little boy. Um, the methods of thinking. And so the last piece I just want to say to you is you need to understand that you're creating these soul contracts and you need to stop doing them. And you need to find out what those windows of time to cancel all contracts show up a couple times throughout the year. And if you take advantage of that, you will catapult yourself into great breakthroughs and soul breakthroughs. Um, and this week has been incredibly beautiful about all of that. For me, I've seen some magical moments this week. Um, I would apologize for my voice, but I'm not going to because this is all part of my own personal healing walk. And with that being said, I'm done sharing my life on Facebook, and I bid you all a good night. Um, okay, if you end this video now, you will able to choose yourself. Okay, uh, now that I've ended that video.